Hello, everyone. Welcome to the AI Agents Hackathon live streams.
The AI Agents Hackathon is a free virtual hackathon running from April 8th to April 30th.
We're hosting over 20 live streams where you'll learn how to build agents using various Microsoft technologies. At the end of the 3 weeks, submit your project for a chance to win fantastic prizes.
And now over to our friends at Reactor.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the AI Agent Hack. Before we start, I do have some quick housekeeping. Please take a moment to review our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. While we absolutely encourage engagement in the chat, we ask that you please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. Keep an eye on that chat. We'll be dropping helpful links and checking for questions for our presenters to answer live. Our session is recorded. It will be available to view on demand within 24 to 48 hours. With that, I'd love to turn it over to our speakers for today. Thanks for joining.
Hello, this is Arnaud and this is Merza. We are here today to present you the building hackathon on building multi-agent apps on top of Azure PostgreSQL. We are in the Azure data team, so that's why we want to show you how to use both database and AI together, agent together. So the agenda today is going to be around like the introduction of multi-AI agent and database and why multi-AI agent. We'll see as well some difference between AutoGen 0.4 versus 0.2. It's much better. There are a lot of good things there. Then we'll have the type of orchestration types that you can do with AutoGen. And of course, most of the time will be on a demo that Mersa will be doing, and we can have some questions at the end. So now you think about why multi-AI agent. You could have a single agent that has a lot of prompt and chain and does everything. One of the things on multi-AI agent is the specialization and expertise that an agent can have. Having multiple AI agents allows each one to specialize in specific task or domain. This means each agent can be optimized for its particular role. Example, like natural language understanding, data analysis, knowledge retrieval, and it leads to a better performance than a single agent trying to do everything. It's a bit like in our normal life, like no. Then you have parallel processing. When you have multiple agents, they can operate together at the same time. So you can parallelize that, which means that you can significantly speed up problem solving and reduce bottleneck. It's especially valuable for time-sensitive tasks or large-scale data processing. And we have as well redundancy and reliability. When several agents collaborate, they can as well cross-check each other's output. And you see, it's a bit like when you look at other LLM to judge an LLM response. That's a bit the same thing with multiple AI agents. You can have that redundancy, will help catch errors or inconsistencies. And also the adaptive collaboration. Multi-agents, they can dynamically adapt to new information or changing goal by reassigning tasks to whichever agent is best equipped for them. This flexible coordination made the system more resilient and capable of handling complex workflows compared to a single fixed-purpose AI model. Last but not least, it's security and risk mitigation. Like having models can be applied to control who has access to what instead of giving global access to one agent. So essentially, you can have one agent that doesn't have access to everything, but each agent has a specific access, specific purpose. Now, next slide on the AutoGen. There are a lot of goodness in AutoGen 0.4. The first thing is around agent, like the agent overall. There is more flexibility in handling agent, including creating custom agent, multi-model input support. You can have as well specialized preset agents such as code executor who are going to execute code. And what we like as well is the agent orchestration, which is improved. Like it allows agent to negotiate and reassign tasks dynamically. And something that was annoying in 0.2, it was very hard to close a loop, or and that has a much better closing of a loop in 0.4. So kudos to the team there. Messaging and subscription, like it's easier as well as broader messaging model allow agent to subscribe to specific topic or direct messages. It has as well better long-term memory, access and monitoring. So that's a key thing. It's you have there are logs, traces, and debugging that helps you really monitor what's happening within the agents. And as well, it has extended plugging. You can publish into AutoGen, and you can, that there is a lot of community-driven integration. Moving now into the database, if you look at what you can do with the data or the database, first, you can chat with your data. Second, you can better develop. You develop on your data, and you can act on your data. When you think about chat with your data, it's a more analytics type of question that you ask. For example, it's which products are in transit. Give me information about a customer. So that's the analytics, like read-only type of interaction. You have database development, which is more about you are on the database, you have a lot of context, and you want the help of multiple agents to code, and that's an example that we have about write a new store procedure to delete a shipment. So as a developer, you want that kind of access that has a lot of context, and can help you. And last but not least, it's act on your data. Is how can now agent do more than just read data or help? How can it really make some update, insert essentially? So when you add a customer, you insert a customer name with information, and it can do much more complicated tasks. For that, we have as well a best practice that probably we will show you, that Mercer will show you with store procedure, because you want to, for an agent, you will want, when you act on your data, you want to ensure that there is some boundary for that agent. Now, so it's on you, Mercer.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone. So before we jump into the demo, I want to give a bit of a overview about the 3 different group chats or orchestration types that we are showcasing in this demo. There is round robin, that's in just like a round robin fashion, every agent starts looking at the task, generates a message, shares it with the broader group. And each agent goes, in order, hands off to the next agent. So if this task is simple in one round, it might as well be solved, right? But if it's more complex, you have to kind of wait for multiple rounds. You have to handhold it. Then there is a selector group chat that gives you the capability to give it a bit more guidelines. So if there's a problem that you want to solve, that there are specific steps that need to be taken in the order. For example, data management, you want to make sure that the agents first retrieve the schema. That's important, right? You can kind of add guideline, kind of enforce it to make sure that it doesn't take like 3 rounds for the agents to get there, right? So it is good for a bit more, controlled use cases and problems to solve. And then there is the Magentink 1, which is a new orchestration type. And it is specifically designed to handle complex tasks. So it has a strong reasoning capabilities. If you're not sure how to solve a task, it is really good. It's because of that, it's a bit more prone to I want to call it overthinking. It's not an official term, but it sometimes gets into breaking down things into a lot of details and can go on. So there are like pros and cons to it. So this is the overall high-level view of the architecture of the system that I'm going to demo very shortly. There is 3 main agents that kind of interact with the database. All of them have read and write privileges under certain contexts. There is the group chat manager, which I mentioned, the orchestrators. And for the selector group chat, we also need a planner agent. So the planner agent kind of has a high-level understanding of the high-level requirements, which agents has what expertise. So it works with the group chat manager or as like an orchestrator to call the next appropriate agent and have a plan for it. And then there's the user proxy agent, which is essentially the connector between the human and the whole system. So it gets questions, it asks for approvals and so forth. And so all of this is implemented in AutoGen 0.4 plus. The most stable dev version is right now 0.5 with an extension. So it is changing rapidly, so keep an eye. And then for the LLM model, we're using GPT 4.1, which is kind of newly released and is really good for executing codes and following tasks and plans. So with that, I am going to go to the demo. So before diving into an actual step-by-step example, I'm going to just give a very quick overview of the files that are in the repo. So if later you want to go and explore, you have an idea. So there is the db_init.py. If you're not comfortable setting your Azure Postgres database, you can just run this. Make sure to provide your environment variables in the .env file for both your database and the model that you want to use. So you can really use any model. If you run this, your database with the example records are set up, which is a couple of customers, products, shipment records. There is the agent tools file, which essentially has all the agents definition. And we have a separate file for it, so it's really clear. If you want to add new agents or modify, you can go there. So it's basically covering all the instructions, capabilities. You can see the schema agent, what it needs to do. One thing is that you can guide the agents to use specific tools. So then you have registered, you have a tool section that, as you can see, there are a couple of specific functions that you're telling it to use for specific procedures. So anything you want to make sure that the agent is an expert on, you can use this. And then there is the Postgres utility file, which essentially is a class that makes a connection to your database. So it gets a connection pool, so it can be efficient. It can use a connection and then release it back to the pool. So when you create an object of this class, it provides an object with this, appropriate connections, and then also it provides the functions that you're going to use. And the functions span from getting the schema information, is what are the procedures, what is the schema, and then it also has like a natural language to query function. It's not used in this demo. There's a high-level execute query function, can execute anything. There's 2 procedures that we have already defined in the database. One is the adding customer, and the other is sending the shipment. So this is like a controlled scenario, right? We have defined it. We're saying use these 2. But we'll see that it can be much more flexible. And then finally, before we go to the demo, there is the chat. Let me just find the file, multi-agent chat. And this is essentially a class that defines, you can use to create an object to initialize all the agents, the connection pool, the LLM, the connection to your LLM model. once. So you can do this once, and then you can define different types of group chats that you want to use. So you don't need to reinitiate everything. You can just test out and pivot between these 3 types of group chats. There's a magentic. You can see the structure here, the round robin, which is the most simplest one, and then the selector, which, as I said, you can guide it a bit more. And as you can see, there's a selector function in the selector group. So in addition to having like a planning agent to do the hand-holding, you can also even further and make sure that it follows a certain order. Here is a very simple example. When you're accessing the messages that is communicated between agents, you're just saying, if the message is sent by the user proxy, aka human, just hand it off to the planning agent so it knows what to do. But you can make it as complex or as different as you want for your use case. So with that, and then there's also like closing your resources, which is important, release every resource. And we can now go to the demo. All right. So here is just the initialization. Creating the connection pool. As I said, passing the connection pool to create the group chat, which is going to initialize all the agents and required resources. And now let's start simple. You want to chat with your data. So you can really ask anything, but in this example, we can say, can you give me a list of all customers with names? And we're going to start with the simplest way of doing things. Already done after 5 seconds. So when you see this, it's asking for confirmation if there's anything else. So it's giving all the names in the database: Alice, Bob, Kathy, Jim. You can say bye to end the conversation. This keyword is defined as a termination text. So you can define a termination command so that user can end the chat. Example 2. Let's be a bit more, get into the details a bit more. So now let's say you want to know what products are in transit and which customers they're being shipped to. This one is the selector one, so the planning. As you can see, it is planning. It says retrieve a list, then after I get the list, I will determine the customer. So it's kind of doing the reasoning. It is calling the schema agent to get the schema information to make sure that the queries are appropriate, retrieves the list of products, and then says laptop and headphones being shipped to Alice, and laptop and headphones are being shipped to Kathy. So this is a bit more, has to join a couple of different tables, a bit more complex. And then you can say bye, or you can ask, for example, let's push it a bit. Is there a customer named Marissa? Okay, there's no customer. Can say sometimes it's not the outputs may not be human friendly. You can push it a bit. So that's about the round robin. You have to be a bit hand holding. There's no customer named Marissa, and then you can say okay, bye. Now we want to act on the data. So because there's no customer named Marissa, we want to now add a customer. Let's say Jim is already there, so let's add me to the data. Let's say MG, phone number, just something dummy. Then let's say it's like Chicago. Okay, so this time we are going to use the magentic orchestrator. Now, as you can see, it has a bit of an overhead. So it takes more time to start planning and reasoning. So that's why it may not be worth it for simpler tasks, as I mentioned. But afterwards, it gives a clear plan. We are working to address the following. To answer this question, we should do this and that. Then it asks, would you like to proceed in inserting this customer record into the table? Confirm, I can execute. So let's confirm.
And now, sir, here
Yeah.
is it using a store procedure to execute here, or does that make? Yeah.
Yeah, let's check. That's a good question. Yeah, it is. It's add customer.
So that's the key thing. Yeah. You don't want to have direct insert and that. You want to create a frame to perform actions.
Yeah.
That's the best practice. Otherwise, then there are some guardrails.
Yeah, very, very good point. So let's go and check if the customer was added in the database. Customer ID. So as you can see, okay, here it is. So it was added with a unique ID. All right, now that we have the customer, let's do another scenario that can happen, which is a create a shipment of, let's say, just 2 tablets or 2 laptops to me, departing from Chicago. Well, I was living supposedly in Chicago, so departing from Los Angeles, let's say. Oops. Towards Chicago. Let's say it's just departed origin. And then we are saying provide the shipment ID when done. Using the selector here. So I'm just like pivoting between these just to see how they act. You can use any of them really. So get a schema information. First gets the customer ID.
On
It
that
realizes.
one, I wanted to, on that one, the schema, it's a query that gives a lot of relationship foreign keys. So the bot, like the other agent, gets a lot of context on everything relationship joined because of foreign keys. So that's an important aspect for accuracy.
Yeah. So let's check. It is using the procedure send shipment. These are the values it added. And it says shipment sent successfully. So let's trust it and say bye. We can check to see. Okay, yeah. Departed origin. This is my customer ID 7. This is the shipments table. This is the shipments tracking table. Shipment items table. Okay. So it successfully added all of them. All right. Now let's go to the next use case, database development, or actually getting help to code at stored procedures, So let's say that we want to remove all the shipment records for a specific ID. It's a bit, it's important to have a consistent way of doing this, right? Because there are dependencies between tables. So that's why I'm going to ask it to create a stored procedure. Let's first make sure I don't have it here. And if I have it, I'm going to just delete it. Yeah, okay. I'm going to delete this. Not cheating. Okay. Let's see what it does. Retrieving the schema information. It's asking me, would you like to create a stored procedure to perform the deletions? let me see. Okay, yeah. And it's explaining, right? It's saying we have to do these, excuse me, deletions in order. Do you approve this plan or not? And I'm going to say yes. One thing to consider is that the schema agent, I made it in a way to be the only agent that has access to write stored procedures. It goes back to the security aspect that Agna mentioned. Then we can use that agent to give make permission to only specific users to operate or execute such procedures. So it says operation successful. Let's say bye. Okay. Delete shipment by ID. So it gets a shipment ID and it deletes it. So it's created the stored procedure here. Let's test the stored procedure now. So let's see, what was the shipment ID for me? Shipment ID 9. Okay, let's see if it can use so we are going to try two things. I'm going to tell it just to remove and see what happens. And then based on that, I'm then going to specify if it should use the stored procedure or not. So while it's thinking, I see a question. Every user question, the agents need to do the whole research or just the first time to understand? The answer is no. You can keep context and memory, and you can specifically tell it to don't repeat stuff. So
that's what I responded. That's
yeah,
an explanation.
thanks. All right. So it's considering a fact sheet, it's planning. Okay, so it is not going to use the stored procedure, right? We didn't mention anything. It's asking if I should move on. So I'm going to tell it specifically. Let's see what the name of the stored procedure was. Delete shipment by ID. Okay. So it asks the schema agent to provide procedure information so that it knows what kind of input it should provide. Please execute. It's called operation successful. One thing about Magentic that, based on at least the experiments that I have done, it ends the conversation after the task, after it deems the task is complete. So that's kind of like a drawback to me. Probably needs more implementation details or prompt engineering to make sure that it doesn't happen. I've tried a couple of things. I wasn't able to, make it understand it shouldn't end the chat, but that's something to note. So let's see if the shipment ID 9, which was my shipment, is removed from all the tables. Okay, removed here. This was the shipment items, shipment tracking, and then the shipment table.
Wow. And so there are like foreign keys and that, so it's complex to remove something because this has a lot of foreign key and dependencies that you need to make that happen. So it's quite a complex operation.
Yeah, and it understands that, right? So it understands that it needs to look for those dependencies, identifies those. Even without the stored procedure, it identified the dependencies here.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, so let's see if I can show you some more examples here. Okay, let's end this one. Just making sure everything is clear in the cache. In connection poll, group chat. Okay. So I'm going to create a new shipment because I want to test something. To see if there's anything interesting coming out of it. So let's first see if it can successfully create the shipment again. Shipment successfully. Can check. Okay, yeah. All right. So let's say we want to, shipment ID is 10. All right. Use an available store procedure to remove shipment records with shipment ID of 10. Here, I'm using round robin. I want to show some differences. If it acts the same as it did before, of course. Let's see how it approaches the problem. Okay, so it gets the schema, right? Everything. It's complaining in the end that I do not see a stored procedure specifically. If you have a stored procedure, give me the name. There's no, it asks, do you want me to create a SQL query? I'm not interested, so I'm going to say bye. Let's ask the same question from the selector. I don't have information about the available stored procedures, whereas it does. So like I told it when defining the agents, I have instructed them to ask from a schema agent to provide the stored procedure information. So probably after a few rounds, it'll get there. I have to tell it, hey, do this, do that. But as you can see, it's not doing it like in a smart way automatically. Now let's see how Magentic. Again, a bit of an overhead, so that's a drawback. It's a bit of more reasoning under the hood. Has a plan, explains it. Please use delete shipments by ID. So it successfully identified the stored procedure. It's encountered some issues in between, but it's resolving it on its own. Operation success. And it's probably going to end the conversation on me, which is the only drawback I see. It doesn't let me, ask for more. But let's see. All right, yeah. This was already not updated. Oh, these are updated already. So 10 was removed. So yeah, this is this was a point I wanted to make. Magentic needs less handholding, but it has more overhead. Asking simple questions is a headache, right? How many shipments are there with the status of in transit? You can see it takes at least like 10 seconds for it to prep a plan, right? And tell you step by step. And by the way, I have added a counter so they can see at the end how many messages it is taking it to conclude. So 20 seconds for a simple query is a bit troublesome, right? It's like, isn't even worth it. There are 2 shipments. Now, whereas if you ask selector, already done, 4 seconds, right? So you have to choose the best orchestrator, and maybe round robin probably takes the same time, 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Yeah, it's 3 or 4 seconds. And then in the end, you can close the connection pool and release all the resources. So this was the demo of like high-level capabilities, but I really do encourage you, if you're interested, to go to the repo. As I said, there are a few different files that have a specific tools. So one is for the agents itself. You can define more agents. You can change the model that you're using. So one interesting thing is that before, like last week, I was using ChatGPT 4, and it took a long time to generate responses. I switched to 4.1 this week, and it's amazing how faster it is. So give it a try if you can. You'll be impressed on how fast and efficient 4.1 is compared to ChatGPT 4. It's really, truly impressive. And then you can, change the prompts here. You can add any other functions. So I'm here calling a function from the Postgres chain. So it's also, from a functional programming perspective, is interesting. You can create classes and objects and pass around functions as input, in a sense. So it's more functional, I think, in that sense, point 4. And yeah. And then you can even tell some agents that you don't have access to do this or that. So as you may have seen, the stored procedure creation is only for a schema agent. So none of the other agents can create a procedure, which is important, again, for security and data integration. All right. Anything else, Alan, you want to add?
No, I think if you say hi, does it try to pass it off to the other agent and consume more tokens there too? It's interesting to see people are worried about tokens. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that end when you say just hi?
Just hi?
Yeah.
Let's try. Yeah, let's try. Why not?
Okay.
It's like right off the bat goes for schema, because I told the schema agent to retrieve, because it's an expert, right? To retrieve the schema information. And it's saying, okay, hi, hello, how can I assist you? But it already has the schema information. So
yeah, we always give, that's always pass. Yeah, kind of. And then you can say bye. So yeah, you will have a few tokens that will be.
So one thing, difference between point 2 and point 4 as of now is that point 2 had the capability to give a report of cost, the tokens that are used. Point 4 does not have it yet. They're encouraging community help to add that capability. So that's why I'm just counting the messages. So one interesting thing is actually you can really deep dive into the content of messages. Here I'm looking at the source, which is which agent is generating it, the content that is saying, and it can use that, to add to memory, to subscribe to certain agents. So agents can subscribe, listen for each other's messages. So there's just a lot you can do here to make it more efficient.
Mario has a question. In case of any error, how would the rollback be performed? Well, like if, not sure. I want to share, make sure we on.
What kind of error? So there are two types of errors, right? There is the actual query error, which we are handling in the utility file. We are catching the, let me find an example. The actual Postgres query error, if something does not exist, if the query is wrong. And the agent in that sense says, the query didn't work. It either discusses within itself or asks for user help. There is a more dangerous error, which is like doing something and thinks it's fine, and says, I'm done, which is that one you have to build some precautions around it, right, to catch it. So that one needs a bit more.
That's why as well we put like some stop procedure rather than, because the agent, like the agent could do insert and like if you give them, they could, if you let them do that, they could essentially do that. Frankly, he did that well without a store procedure, but that's not the best practice. So you limit the errors. And yeah, that's amazing. Do you have any other questions or?
Yeah, questions or query suggestions. If you want to push the boundaries, I'm more than happy to run it with you.
You should feel free to contribute to the repo. We love to expand more the use of multi-agent with database, because frankly, we love act on your data, because database, when you think about application and how we can think of, like making transactional, that's related to an application. Here it's a notebook, but that could be an application, and how we could expand those scenarios. We love to get your contribution too. About when you will use Ryan had a question.
Yeah, I'm looking for the question too.
Will this be used in production, or will be this used as a tool to set up database and such? Would it be as a, well, it's more than setting up a database here. What do you think, Mersa? Do you think how far are we from having those things established in production with multi-AI, like multiple agent, doing that instead of having the traditional way? What do
I
you
think if we build on top of it some more, just making sure we're checking for potential issues, maybe an agent that ensures quality assurance, just building some safeguards, I think it could potentially be in production. AutoGen itself, I think it's still on, there are plans for it, as Microsoft has published. It's going to be integrated within semantic kernel. So from that sense, you have to think about it. It will have community support, but not, production support. But from just like a utility perspective, based on what I've tried in the past few weeks, I think it has a great potential to be in production with some safeguards, and maybe just saying, just keep an eye on your database, to make sure everything is okay. I don't see any major issues with it getting there, but there is some randomness to large language models, right? There's some randomness. You have to really, I think, make sure you have really good tests to ensure it's stable for use cases that are important for you.
And yeah, Pamela thinks it will be an internal tool for selected. Yeah, human in the loop. Like the human in the loop is something, confirmation, backup, 100. Yeah, Pamela, it's as well. Have you tried AutoGen Studio or not, Mersa?
No, unfortunately, I haven't. Would love to next to test it out. There's a lot of good stuff there too. It's an amazing, I think, update to AutoGen framework. I've really enjoyed it. So kudos to the team.
Yeah, and Pamela, a question: can you set the seed for the LLM when using AutoGen? For example, what temperature do the LLM calls use case?
Yeah, I've set the seed right now as a default. You can also set the temperature. It goes from 0 to 100 or 0 to 10. I don't remember exactly the scale. You have to look it up in the documentation. But essentially, I think the more the number, the more creative it becomes, right?
Yeah.
So if you say temperature is low, it becomes really strict, so the results will be more reproducible. Yeah.
There always mix between 0 and 1, but yes, it's about the temperature, creativity, and that's my. But yeah, that's it. Thank you, Pamela, by the way, for inviting us to present. We love it. We will hope it the start of something to get community contribution and discussion.
Yeah, would love to learn everyone's feedback.
Yeah.
Pamela, you try 4.1. You'll be impressed. It's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hope you enjoyed today's session. If you aren't registered for the AI Agents Hackathon yet, register now at aka.ms/agentshack and start hacking on the agent of your dreams.
And if you have any questions along the way, just post in our GitHub discussion forum or attend our live office hours in Discord. And of course, make sure that you keep attending the live streams to keep learning about agents.
Once your project is ready, submit it before April 30th at 11:59 p.m. PT to be eligible for our prizes. Thanks for joining.